What if the thing you've been fighting against was actually protecting you? What if the worst moment of your year was quietly setting up the best chapter of your life? Tonight, before you close your eyes, I want to tell you a story. A story so simple, a farmer told it to his son over 2,000 years ago. And yet, it holds an answer that most people spend their entire lives searching for. Get comfortable. Let your shoulders drop. And let me take you somewhere quiet. In a small village, nestled between two mountains, there lived an old farmer. He had rough hands, kind eyes, and a farm that was just big enough to feed his family. He wasn't rich. He wasn't famous. But the people in his village respected him deeply. Not because he had the most, but because he never seemed to be shaken by anything. Good news came. He smiled gently. Bad news came. He nodded slowly. And whenever someone asked him how he stayed so calm, he always said the same thing. Maybe so, maybe not. Nobody fully understood what he meant, until the day something happened that changed everything. Here's what I want you to pay attention to as this story unfolds tonight. Every single chapter of this story mirrors something that happens in real life. Maybe something that happened to you recently. Keep listening, because by the end, you might see your own life a little differently. One morning, the farmer woke up to find that his only horse had broken through the fence and run away. His neighbors gathered quickly, the way neighbors do when there's bad news worth talking about. "Oh no," they said. "What terrible luck! How will you plow your fields? How will you carry your harvest? This is a disaster." The old farmer looked at the broken fence. He looked at the empty stable. He took a slow breath and said, "Maybe so, maybe not." The neighbors shook their heads. They thought grief had made him strange. But the farmer simply picked up his tools and got back to work. 3 days passed. On the fourth morning, the sound of hooves returned. And there was his horse, walking back through the valley. But not alone. Behind him, 6 wild horses, strong and beautiful, followed him through the gate. Now the neighbors rushed over again, louder this time. "What incredible luck! You have 7 horses now. You're rich. This is wonderful." The old farmer looked at the horses, calm as still water. Maybe so, maybe not. The farmer's son was young, strong, and full of energy. Naturally, he wanted to ride the wild horses. He climbed onto the largest one, a gray horse with a silver mane, and within seconds, the horse bucked and threw him to the ground. The son's leg broke in 2 places. The neighbors came again, worried and sad. "Your poor boy. He'll be in bed for months. The harvest is coming. How will you manage? This is terrible." The farmer sat beside his son, placed a hand on his shoulder, and looked up at the people at his door. Maybe so, maybe not. They left confused, frustrated even. But the farmer brewed tea, changed his son's bandages, and let the night be quiet. He didn't fight what had happened. He just waited. And the world, as it always does, kept moving. 2 weeks later, soldiers rode through the village. There was a war on the other side of the mountains, and the emperor needed young men to fight. They went from home to home, taking every able-bodied young man they could find. Sons, brothers, husbands, pulled away, most of them never to return. The village wept that night. Every family had lost someone. Every family except the farmer's, because his son was still in bed, still healing, still right there. The soldiers looked at the broken leg, shook their heads, and moved on. The neighbors stood at the farmer's door, tears in their eyes, their own sons already gone. "You are so lucky," they whispered. "Your son is still here." The old farmer looked at his boy, sleeping peacefully. He felt something warm and quiet in his chest. But when he turned to his neighbors, he said only, "Maybe so, maybe not." If this story is already making you feel something, a little calmer, a little more thoughtful, then you're exactly where this channel is meant for. We create Zen sleep stories every week. Stories that don't just help you fall asleep, they help you wake up with a clearer mind. Go ahead and subscribe right now so you never miss one. Now, let's go back to the valley. One evening, while his leg was still mending, the son asked his father something he'd been wondering for years. "Father, why do you always say that? Maybe so, maybe not. Don't you ever feel happy when good things happen? Don't you ever feel sad when things go wrong?" The farmer was quiet for a long moment. He poured 2 cups of tea and set one beside his son. "Of course I do," he said. "I felt my heart lift when the horses came back. I felt fear when you fell. I felt grief when I heard the soldiers taking other men's sons." "Then why the words?" the son asked. The old man wrapped both hands around his cup. "Because I have lived long enough," he said slowly, "to know that I cannot see the whole story from where I am standing." He looked out the window at the rain. "Every ending I thought was final wasn't. Every gift I thought was permanent changed. So I feel what I feel. And then I remind myself the story is not over yet." The son was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Maybe so." And his father smiled. "Maybe not," he replied. And they both laughed softly into the quiet night. Years passed. The son grew strong. He married. He had children of his own. And the old farmer grew older, his hair fully white now, his step slower. Then one summer, the rains didn't come. The river shrunk. The soil cracked. Crops failed across the entire valley. Families began leaving. Some sold everything they had. Some borrowed money they couldn't repay. The farmer lost most of his harvest too. He had to let go of 4 of the horses. He had to trade away tools he'd carried for 30 years. His grandchildren went to bed some nights with less food than they needed. It was hard. There were evenings where the old man sat alone on his porch, looking at the dry earth, and said nothing at all. He didn't pretend it wasn't painful. He didn't smile it away. But every morning, he got up. He did what could be done. He didn't add the weight of "this will never end" to the weight of what was already real. Because somewhere deep inside him, something steady and quiet said, "Maybe so, maybe not." The rains came back. Not like a miracle. Not overnight. But slowly, the way real things return. First a cloud. Then a week of soft rain. Then the river rose again. The fields that had cracked open softened. Seeds that had waited in dry soil remembered what they were made for. Within a season, the valley was green again. And what the farmer noticed quietly without telling anyone was this: the families who had borrowed too much and panicked and sold everything, they came back with nothing. But the families who had held on, who had endured, who had trusted that the story wasn't over, they were still standing. Still rooted. The farmer sat with his grandchildren one evening as they ate a full meal. His granddaughter, maybe 8 years old, looked up at him and said, "Grandpa, are you happy now?" He looked around the table. At his son. At the food. At the candlelight dancing on the ceiling. He felt something full and real move through him. "Yes," he said. "Right now, in this moment, yes." She smiled. "Will it always be like this?" He looked at her with the warmest eyes she had ever seen. "Maybe so," he said. "Maybe not. But it is like this right now." The old farmer lived many more years. He saw more droughts, more abundance, more loss, more return. And when he finally passed quietly in his sleep, the village gathered to remember him. People told stories about his horses, his broken fence, his son's leg, the drought. But what they remembered most wasn't any single event. It was the feeling they got when they were around him. A steadiness, like standing near a very old tree that has survived every season and is not afraid of the next one. His son, now an old man himself, stood before the village and said this: "My father didn't teach me that life would be easy. He didn't tell me that everything works out. He knew that sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes the horse doesn't come back. Sometimes the leg doesn't heal. Sometimes the rain takes too long. What he taught me was something quieter than that. He taught me that I am almost always looking at one page and calling it the whole book. He taught me that bad and good are labels we put on moments we don't yet fully understand. And he taught me that the mind that says, 'I know exactly what this means,' suffers more than the mind that says, 'Maybe so, maybe not.'" Long pause. Rain fading. Deep quiet. And now, as you lie here breathing slowly, letting the day fall away from you, I want to offer you this same gift. Think of something in your life right now that feels heavy. Something unresolved. Something that didn't go the way you hoped. Something you're not sure about. Don't try to fix it tonight. Don't try to understand it. Just whisper to yourself, quietly, "Maybe so, maybe not. The story isn't over yet." Pause. Soft ambient tone. Let your body sink a little deeper. Let your breath slow down. Let tonight just be tonight. Not a verdict on your life. Just one quiet page in a very long, beautiful book. You are still here. The rain always comes back. And some of the best chapters haven't been written yet. Maybe something shifted in you tonight. Maybe you'll wake up tomorrow and see something you've been fighting, just a little differently. Or maybe this story will simply help you sleep. Either way, maybe so, maybe not. That's enough. Long pause. If this story gave you something tonight, a little peace, a little perspective, consider sharing it with someone who might need it too. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is a perfect moment. Every week we bring you new Zen sleep stories. Crafted carefully, narrated slowly, built for the kind of rest your mind and body actually need. Subscribe. Stay. We'll be here. Sleep well. The story continues tomorrow.